Hi, my name is Stéphanie. I'm a naturopath and I work with Garden of Life products. Today I've been asked to walk you through our raw protein powders and to explain to you some of the highlights of the formulations. First thing I'd like to tell you is that we have three flavors. So we have the au naturel flavor, we have the vanilla flavor, and we have the chocolate flavor. All three are very, very mild in taste. None of them are cloying or overly sweet or anything like that. And that's dictated by the fact that we don't use artificial ingredients. So just natural sweeteners and natural ingredients in that sense. So I invite you to give them a try so that you know what you're talking about when you talk to your customers about our Garden of Life raw protein. Our Garden of Life raw protein is the #1 selling protein supplement on the market today, and with good reason. So let's walk into that right away. So why raw foods? Why raw protein in this instance? Well, we know that digestive enzymes are particularly high in raw foods, and heating anything above 115 degrees Fahrenheit starts to degrade these enzymes and starts to destroy these enzymes. So certainly it's very beneficial to have a raw protein that has not been heated above that 115 degree mark, as is the case with our Garden of Life raw protein powder. Raw foods also contain naturally occurring bacteria, so healthy bacteria that help populate your digestive tract, your intestinal flora, and that to help bolster your immune system very, very naturally. So also extremely beneficial to keeping you healthy and warding off viruses and warding off the flu and colds and things like that. We also know that raw foods have a higher nutritive content than foods that have been heated. So all extremely beneficial things to health to have a raw profile in your protein powder. Now, what makes a Garden of Life product raw? There's 5 things to keep in mind. So the ingredients inside the formulation have to be uncooked. All of them have to be uncooked. So none of them have been heated above 115 degrees Fahrenheit. So nothing has been degraded or destroyed. Very, very important. Another thing to keep in mind is none of the ingredients have been treated, so they're free of chemical additives or chemical treatments, free of any unnecessary industrial ingredients. So those are 2 things that are very, very key. Also, our formulations are free of extracted nutrients, so they've not had any ingredients that have been added that have been subjected to heat and thus that cannot be considered raw. Another thing to keep in mind is that all our ingredients in our formulations, in our raw formulations, so our entire roster of raw formulations from Garden of Life, do not contain ingredients that are inactive. So all of the ingredients are there for a purpose. All of the ingredients inside the formulations are active and are bringing something beneficial to the table, or bringing something beneficial to your health. And finally, the 5th thing to keep in mind when you're trying to determine whether or not a product is a raw product, as our Garden of Life product line are, they can never contain any binders, fillers, or anything like that you typically find in a tablet form, because the tableting process requires extreme heat and extreme pressure to make those tablets hold together. And this is why you cannot find those in a raw formulation, because raw formulations are in powder form. Our raw formulations are in powder form. So uncooked, untreated, free of extracted ingredients. All the ingredients inside are active and bring something to the table, and no binders of fillers of any kind in the formulations. Let's take a look, just a quick look at what protein does in the body and what the protein functions are in the body, and to understand just a little bit about the necessity of supplying quality protein to the body. Necessity versus nice to have. Well, let's just take a quick look. Proteins are the building blocks, and this we know. Proteins are the building blocks of the animal kingdom. They're a major functional and structural component of every single cell in the body, be it teeth, be it bones, be it cartilage, skin, hair, blood, nails, anything like that. Proteins are involved in their structure, in their growth, in their building, and in their repair. So as you can see, supplying your body with quality protein is not just a nice to have, it's an essential. Another thing to keep in mind, and a lot of people don't necessarily think of this when they're talking about supplying your body with extra protein, is that protein plays a vital role in fluid and electrolyte balance in the body, as well as maintaining balance of acid and alkaline. So all extremely important to the maintenance of health. So extremely essential to supply your body with not only adequate amounts of protein, but also quality protein that your body can actually utilize. If we look at what the protein recommendations are for a healthy adult of average weight, we're talking about the RDA being 0.80 grams per kilogram of body weight. So that roughly translates to about 50 grams per day for an average weight adult. That's for someone who lives just a normal life, who doesn't have a particularly excessive exercise regimen. For athletes and people that perform various kinds of sports, that recommendation will vary. So it can be anywhere from 1 gram per kilogram of body weight to 1.8 gram per kilogram of body weight, and that's dictated by the kind of physical activity that the athlete is participating in or the person is participating in. But just keep in mind that as a general rule, we talk about a 50 gram per day recommendation as being a standard if you want. If we look at what Garden of Life raw protein powder brings to the table, well, it's an excellent source of protein. It's an excellent source of protein, an excellent quality protein. It will provide 17 to 18 grams of raw organic sprouted protein per serving. So that's depending on the flavor that you're choosing. It contains 13 raw organic sprouts in the formulation. It supplies 1 billion live probiotics, so naturally occurring live probiotics per serving, so nothing to sneeze at. 5 milligrams of iron per serving, and it, of course, it can increase the protein content of food and beverages if you just add it to various foods and beverages. And it's suitable for vegetarians and vegans, so that's certainly something that is very enviable about our protein powder, because that's not often the case, especially if you look at what most of the competition is. We'll often find things like whey, which is the gold standard on the market, but certainly is not a vegan option, not by any means. So our Garden of Life protein is composed of a brown rice, a sprouted grain of brown rice. And we've used the germ, the bran, and the endosperm layer. And by doing this we've got the best of all three worlds, because every single layer of the grain contains a different amino acid profile. So by combining all three layers, we're getting a very complete amino acid profile, and thus we're supplying the body with a very complete amino acid profile. Most of the protein is found in the endosperm layer, but again, as mentioned, every single layer has a very different amino acid profile. So combining the three forms gives us a complete source of protein from one single grain of rice. So that's also something that's quite impressive and quite interesting to keep in mind. Why sprouting? Why not just take our grain of rice? Well, sprouts are extremely rich in digestible energy, bioavailable vitamins and minerals, amino acids, proteins, beneficial enzymes, and phytochemicals. So extremely, extremely interesting, and there's a lot of added benefits to sprouting our grain of rice to health. Some of the benefits of sprouting, we're talking about increasing plant enzyme content. So again, great for digestion. Increasing protein quality, so fantastic as well. So your body is able to get a better amino acid profile, more complete amino acid profile through the sprouting process. It also helps increase crude fiber content. So that's also extremely important and extremely interesting. It increases essential fatty acid content of the grain as well. It helps chelate minerals. So if you want, it helps pre-digest minerals, so your body is absorbing more of these minerals. It increases vitamin content, and it reduces anti-nutritional factors. So all around, the sprouting process of our little grain of rice is extremely beneficial to health, and something that maybe many people may overlook when they just look at the bottle and they don't understand why we've used a sprouted protein. If we look at our raw, organic, vegan sprouted protein powder, we look at the nutritional content. You look at the little side of the bottle, and you'll notice that for an 80 calorie serving, you get 17 to 18 grams of protein per serving. That's huge. That's humongous. I invite you to take a look at the side panels of the supplement facts, if you want, of the three different flavors, and you'll notice that in terms of the carbohydrates that are contained in there, the dietary fiber, the sugars, which is less than 1 gram per serving, it's extremely, extremely beneficial, and certainly positions itself way above the competition vis-a-vis what you're getting in terms of calorie content, to protein to content, to soluble fiber, to sugars and carbohydrates and some such things. Extremely, extremely beneficial. If we look at the amino acid profile, again, as I mentioned, Garden of Life is a sprouted protein, which includes 13 sprouts that complement one another. It provides an essential amino acid profile that's correlated at 97% to whey protein. Whey protein we discussed before as being the gold standard on the market. So certainly extremely close in terms of the amino acid profile that's considered perfect, if you want, with whey protein. We're talking about 97% correlated to whey proteins. And it's correlated 98% to mother's milk. Now, if we well know that mother's milk is considered the superfood and the perfect food, if you want the perfect nutritional profile, that makes our Garden of Life raw organic sprouted protein powder extremely well positioned. Another thing to keep in mind is in terms of the biological value, our Garden of Life raw protein powder scores a 98.2% in terms of biological value, and that is extremely high, especially if you compare it to some of the other protein powders and protein sources available on the market. Let's compare, for example, beef. So beef, of course, is a very high protein source. If we look at its digestibility in terms of protein, so its protein digestibility, we're talking about a 94% versus our Garden of Life product that has a 99% protein digestibility. If we look at the net protein utilization of beef, we're talking about a 73%. But if we look at Garden of Life's product, we're talking about a 98.8%. So extremely enviable. I could also compare it to something else. Let's compare it to milk, for example. Milk has a protein digestibility of 95% versus the 99% we discussed with our Garden of Life raw protein powder. If we look at net utilization of protein for milk, we're talking about an 82% only versus 98.8% with our Garden of Life raw protein. Another one I'd like to draw your attention to would be soy, for example. Well, soy is certainly a great alternative for vegetarians, but we're talking about protein digestibility of a 75% only versus our 99%, and protein utilization 61%, a mere 61% vis-a-vis our 98.8% for our Garden of Life raw sprouted protein. So certainly those are very interesting things to keep in mind, because it's not just whether or not you have a complete amino acid profile that's important. It's also whether or not your body can use these proteins, can absorb these proteins, can absorb all the amino acids and put them to good use. So like all raw proteins found in nature, raw protein from Garden of Life contains all the naturally occurring proteases. So those the protein digestive enzymes, so naturally occurring protein digestive enzymes. Also contains enzyme generating probiotics, nutritional cofactors like whole food vitamins A, D, E, K, that will make sure that your body is able to absorb and utilize all the amino acids that are supplied to you in the protein powder. So those are things to keep in mind, especially when you're looking at different labels on the different products that are available on the market today. I invite you to take a look at some of the ingredients inside the raw protein powder from Garden of Life. Extremely interesting ingredients. We're talking about things like raw sprouted brown rice, chlorella. We're talking about brown mushroom, amaranth, quinoa, millet, buckwheat. We're talking about garbanzo, lentil, adzuki, flax, sunflower, pumpkin, chia, sesame sprouts. Of course, there's various naturally occurring probiotics, as well as organic flavor and organic stevia. So extremely clean product, extremely complete protein, extremely complete amino acid profile that's supplied to the body. Very enviably positioned on the market. I'd like to just look quickly at the different protein sources. So certainly the supplemental protein choices, if you want, on the market. I'm not going to discuss things that we will be consuming like beef or chicken or fish, but for people that are interested in supplementing their diet with a protein powder, some of the top choices are whey, as we discussed earlier. Whey is your gold standard on the market. There's also casein, there's egg, there's soy, there's to a lesser extent pea, hemp, and rice proteins, and then of course there's our sprouted brown rice protein. I'd just like to take a look very quickly at the gold standard, if you want, the whey protein powder, and some of the pros and some of the cons. So some of the pros is that it has very high biological values, as we saw earlier. So that's certainly a good thing to have. It has an excellent amino acid profile. It's very high in high branch chain amino acids, so the workout obsessed people and the weightlifters will be very, very pleased with this, and that's why they're very often the first ones to turn to whey protein powders. It also contains immune-supporting microfractions, so certainly very beneficial to health, and it's also a powder that just mixes really, really well. So as people that use protein powders can often tell you, is that it's not just whether or not it tastes good and it's a good product, it has to mix well too. So certainly that's something that you do find with whey protein powders. On the con side, it's certainly not a vegan formulation. You can't really get a vegan formulation with whey by definition. It's not appropriate for anyone with dairy sensitivities, allergies, lactose intolerance, or things like that. And we do know that that's certainly very prevalent in the population today. It's not raw because the product has to be pasteurized, so heated to very, very high temperatures. So certainly you've started to degrade some of the constituents inside the whey protein. Most is not organic, and most is not from grass-fed cows. So very, very hard to find grass-fed forms and sources of whey protein. So certainly some things to keep in mind. If we look at, for example, our soy protein, which is also fairly popular on the market, some of the pros, well, it's a great vegan alternative to meat and dairy protein. So people that turn to vegetarian lifestyles or vegan lifestyles may decide to supplement their diets with soy protein powders, and some such things. Another beneficial thing to soy protein is that a 25 gram per day recommendation is pre-qualified for the FDA as a heart health claim. So certainly makes this a beneficial supplement for a lot of people, because it's clear in their minds that 25 grams per day is protective to your health. Also, some people believe that estrogens are helpful to protect you from the symptoms of menopause. So certainly a lot of people turn to soy protein. A lot of women turn to soy protein for possible help with menopause and menopausal symptoms. Some of the cons. Well, some of the cons, some people believe that estrogens fuel, hormone-dependent cancers and can produce some reproductive health issues in both men and women. None of this is necessarily proven, but it's certainly something to keep in mind. We do know that there's a certain thyroid interference with a high soy protein consumption. It is also very, very high. Soy protein is very high in anti-nutritional factors and enzyme inhibitors. And those are naturally things that are naturally happen with the consumption of soy protein. It has a very low biological value, as we saw earlier. It has limited amino acids, and most is from genetically modified soy. So certainly some things to keep in mind as well if you're trying to position vis-a-vis those two kinds of proteins, both the gold standard of whey and then, of course, the soy protein. The pea and hemp protein, to a lesser degree, some of the pros, well, hemp is available certified organic and is a very easily and very sustainable crop. So a lot of people are very interested in turning to hemp as a possible choice. Also, hemp is gaining popularity because it's a very nutrient-dense food, packs a heck of a lot of wallop for what it is in the grain per se. So very, very high in fiber, vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, and things like that. So certainly those are some of the pros. In terms of the cons, it has a very low protein content. We're talking about a 50% protein content per weight. Very low biological value as well. Hemp has also a negative perception among some people in the population. And it's also very, very gritty, so it does not mix well, as opposed to the whey protein we talked about a little bit earlier. It does not mix well at all. So certainly some things to keep in mind if you've never actually tried this form of protein per se, this form of protein powder per se. So if we take just a quick look at a summary of what raw protein, our organic vegan raw protein powder from Garden of Life supplies and brings to the table, well, it's an excellent source of protein. It will provide anywhere from 17 to 18 grams of protein per serving, depending on the flavor chosen. It contains 13 raw organic sprouts. It supplies 1 billion live probiotics per serving. So again, that's an impressive quantity. 5 milligrams of iron per serving as well. It's suitable for vegetarians or vegans, so another fantastic positioning tool for you. It's very, very easy to digest. It's a great alternative to soy and animal protein powders for those that are looking for an alternative. And it's really, really great for people with GI sensitivities to milk, whey, and other protein sources. And as I mentioned before, delicious natural flavors, nothing cloying, nothing overly sweet or anything like that, and does not contain any fillers, artificial flavors, or synthetic ingredients. Just packs a nutritional, quite a nutritional wallet for such a small calorie content. Anyway, I want to thank you for sitting with me today and going through the raw protein powder from Garden of Life. I hope you give it a try and find it as wonderful as we do.